There's a sound history almost never records. Not the thunder of hooves. Not the clash of steel. It's the sound that comes after. When the fires stop burning. When the screaming fades. When the men who could fight are already dead. And the women realize the war didn't end. It only changed shape. What you're about to hear is not a story about war. It's a story about the most efficient system of cultural destruction ever created. A machine so precise, so refined, that it didn't just conquer land. It erased civilizations. And at the center of this machine was a calculated, state-sanctioned brutality aimed at one specific target. Women. This should disturb you. It should make you uncomfortable. Because roughly 16 million people alive today carry the genetic evidence that this system worked. Their DNA is proof of what happens when terror isn't an accident of conquest, but the primary weapon. The most chilling part is this wasn't discovered by chance. It was perfected, tested, refined. Human suffering turned into a science. By the end of the story, you'll understand why cities with hundreds of thousands of people vanished from history. Why entire languages went extinct. Why cultures that had existed for millennia disappeared within a single generation. This is the Mongol terror machine. And once you understand how it functioned, you will never look at history the same way again. For centuries, historians have asked the same question. How did a nomadic population of maybe 1 million people conquer territory stretching from Korea to Hungary? How did they subjugate kingdoms with populations 50 times their size? It wasn't superior weapons. It wasn't numbers. It wasn't even cavalry. It was terror. But not random terror. Engineered terror. Terror as technology. The Mongols understood something most empires never fully grasped. Fear moves faster than armies. Faster than messengers. Faster than horses. If fear arrives first, walls become meaningless. Before invading Khwarezmia in 1219, Genghis Khan sent envoys ahead with a simple message. Submit and you will live. Resist and you will be destroyed along with your wives, your children, and your descendants. Notice that wording. Wives and children were not an afterthought. They were the point. This wasn't a threat spoken in anger. It was policy. Advertised policy. Here was the calculation. You could lose thousands of soldiers taking a dozen fortified cities one by one. Or you could annihilate a single city so completely that the rest surrender without a fight. Brutality spent once purchases submission everywhere else. It's monstrous. It's evil. And it's devastatingly efficient. The Mongols didn't choose random cities to make examples of. They targeted centers of culture, learning, and spiritual authority. Places whose destruction would break hope itself. Nishapur, a jewel of Persian civilization, famous for poetry, astronomy, mathematics. Merv, possibly the largest city on earth at the time. When Nishapur fell in 1221, the Mongols ordered every single inhabitant killed. Heads were separated into piles. One for men, one for women, one for children. Sources record that a Mongol noblewoman personally oversaw the execution to ensure nothing was missed. Centuries later, archaeologists uncovered a thick layer of ash, burying the remains of what had once been one of the world's great cities. But the killing was the mercy. For the women who were spared, the nightmare was just beginning. The Mongols didn't break civilizations through chaos. They used a deliberate process designed to erase people completely. And the first step was forced reproduction. When a city fell, women were not slaughtered indiscriminately. They were sorted. The most beautiful, the most educated, the daughters of nobles, scholars, and leaders. They were claimed by Mongol commanders. This wasn't about desire. It was about replacement. When you force conquered women to bear your children, you are not just conquering the present. You are conquering the future. Those children grow up Mongol. They speak Mongolian. They worship Mongol gods. Their mother's language disappears. Her stories vanish. Her culture dies without leaving ruins. In 2003, geneticists identified a Y chromosome lineage originating in Mongolia roughly 1,000 years ago. About 16 million men alive today carry it. One male ancestor spreading across continents in just a few generations. That isn't natural population growth. That is conquest written into DNA. Imagine being a Persian woman in Nishapur. Educated, literate, your family respected, your future planned. Then the city falls. Your father is executed. Your brothers are among the dead. You are dragged from your home and claimed by a man who does not know your name and does not care to learn it. 9 months later you give birth. The child is taken, raised as Mongol. Your poetry, your prayers, your city, gone. You still breathe, but everything you were is already dead. This happened tens of thousands of times. But erasing the future wasn't enough. The Mongols understood you had to destroy the present. That required humiliation, performed publicly, deliberately as theater. Cultures define honor through the protection of women. The Mongols identified this pressure point and applied force with precision. When Baghdad fell in 1258, it wasn't just another city. It was the heart of Islamic civilization, home to the House of Wisdom, 5 centuries of accumulated knowledge. After the massacre, the women of the caliph's palace were dragged into the streets. Women who had lived their entire lives unseen by public eyes, their veils torn away, their clothing stripped, paraded through markets. This wasn't just abuse. It was messaging. Your leaders cannot protect their own families. Your God did not intervene. Your civilization is already dead. Some of these women were sold for the price of a single silver coin. Not because they lacked value, because contempt was the message. And this wasn't done everywhere. Cities that surrendered early were spared. Resist, and your grandchildren would feel shame just hearing your name. Then came a siege tactic so brutal that early historians assumed it must be exaggeration. Human shields. Captured civilians were forced to march toward city walls. Women holding infants, elderly men, children. Defenders faced an impossible choice. Kill their own people or allow the Mongols to advance unopposed. Those who fell were piled into moats, used as fill to build ramps. Human beings reduced to construction material. If you survived, you were marched thousands of miles to be sold. This created the largest forced migration in human history. The Mongol Empire ran on human beings as currency. Skilled artisans were shipped across continents. Women were the most valuable commodity. Slave markets became permanent institutions with standardized pricing. A woman from Persia could be sold in China. Her children would never know where she came from. Her grandchildren wouldn't even know what language she spoke. Entire ethnic groups were scattered so thoroughly they ceased to exist. And finally came the erasure of memory itself. The Mongols didn't just burn books. They killed poets, historians, scholars, anyone capable of preserving culture. In Baghdad, books were thrown into the river until the water ran black with ink. But killing the books wasn't enough. They killed the people who could rewrite them. Women forced to bear conquerors' children. Societies shattered through humiliation. Survivors scattered across continents. Knowledge holders eliminated. This is genocide with precision. Cities like Merv, once among the largest on Earth, reduced to ruins most people have never heard of. Languages gone. Songs forgotten. Names erased. And here is the final truth. In most societies, women carried cultural memory. They taught children their first words. They passed on stories. By targeting women, the Mongols attacked the transmission of culture itself. When this happens across dozens of peoples, extinction follows within 2 or 3 generations. So how did 1 million conquer 50 million? They built a terror machine so effective that resistance became irrational. 16 million men alive today carry the proof. Entire civilizations vanished. And for most victims, there is no one left to remember their names. Empires rise. Empires fall. But this legacy is not written only in ruins. It is written in people. And that is why this history matters. Because terror doesn't always destroy loudly. Sometimes it works so well that silence is all that remains.